Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy, and today I want to share about a fun experience that we had yesterday. And I say fun in quotations because it was fun, it was interesting, it was a learning experience, but again, it was just that, a learning experience. We filmed for a reality television show, so I can't disclose which one publicly, but if you send me a DM on Instagram, my Instagram is Play Cafe Academy, all one word, I will let you know. But it was basically, it's a relationship type show, and basically what happened was the mom whose daughter's birthday party was going to be at our facility films for a reality television show, and the film production company reached out to us and asked if they could film the birthday party. I went through all of their documentation and things like that, and at the end of the day I said sure, no problem. And again, I wouldn't go back. I thought it was a great experience, it's going to be good exposure, and it was just fun kind of participating in something new. But again, I did have a couple things that I would probably do differently next time, and this kind of goes for any type of film production, any type of anything that's outside of the ordinary. So if you guys ever get the opportunity to do something like this, I just wanted to give you guys a couple tips. And again, this isn't just for like a full production crew situation. A lot of parents are bloggers or have YouTube channels or things like that. So this, even though it seems like kind of a far-fetched topic, this might come up, a lot sooner for you than you think. So I did want to share our experience. But it was, again, it was very fun. It's fresh in my mind. It was just last night. It was a 6.5 hour ordeal. So they arrived at noon, and the film crew didn't end up leaving until 6:30, even though the parents ended up leaving, I think, around 5. But it basically delivered on every kind of earmark of a reality television show. There was a lot of drama. There was a lot of drama. That's all I will say. So without further ado, I'm going to give you guys some tips if you guys ever get the opportunity to do anything like this. So first of all, number one, ask whoever is booking the party, whether it be the parents or the film production crew or the production manager, ask them what the true time they need your facility for is. So we had them reserve a 2-hour party slot, very typical. They did say that they would need a little extra time to vacate after the filming wrapped up, which I'll talk about in a second, but they really thought that they would be out of here by 4:30. The party was supposed to be from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and they really thought that they would be out of here by 4:30. And I had them sign our contract. I went through all of that good stuff, but again, because of some of the drama that happened, they were not out until 6:30. So luckily, I was here myself. However, I think I would have maybe, if I could go back, I would have pushed the production manager a little bit and asked her what the procedure is if something happens and they need to keep filming and things like that. Like, what is the procedure for extra charge? Who do I contact to get that extra money? Luckily, that I did take care of, and I did have somebody to call to recoup some of those extra charges that we incurred from having to be here, both myself and a staff member, for those extra hours. But I would definitely ask more questions when they book to make sure that not only I'm reserving enough time, but also that I'm being compensated for all of the costs that I'm incurring for this production. Because they have budgets. For this particular show, the production company actually paid for the party. So I wish I would have just asked more questions again, and I wish I would have charged them more from the beginning so I wouldn't have to be chasing down extra money. Luckily, again, it is in our contract, so I'm very confident that we will be able to recoup that extra money, but I wish I would have just blocked off more time in advance just in preparation and charged them more so that in the event something did happen, we would be covered. I would have let my staff member know that she would be working a couple extra hours ahead of time, because I really, really, really don't like making people stay late in an unexpected manner. So definitely push and ask questions and ask what they do should the event something happens. And again, this was a very unique show. It's not like a typical parenting family show. So again, there was a lot of drama. But again, I would ask more questions about what they do in that circumstance. And I really wish I could give you guys more details. I really, really do. But once the episode is released, I'll be able to share it with you guys. But it won't probably be for several weeks after this video goes live. The second thing that I kind of already teased on is make sure you have very specific contracts in place. So we had to sign, both the staff member and myself, we had to sign appearance waivers. So in case we appeared on camera or anything like that, we had to make sure that we signed it, and they also had to take a picture of us holding it, which I thought was interesting. But make sure you go through all of that with a fine-tooth comb. And we also had to sign a location release. So we had to give permission to film our space and things like that, and our logo and all that good stuff. Now, again, I read through this document with a fine-tooth comb, and one of the things that popped out to me, and I don't know if this is standard in this type of agreement, but one of the things that popped out to me was that they have the right to show our facility basically in whatever manner or light they see fit. So if they had a terrible experience, if something was dirty, if the kids didn't like it or something, they basically had the right to showcase our facility however they felt would add to the show's value. So I would just be very careful of that, and I would definitely make sure, luckily again I was here, but I would just make sure that you are here to answer any questions, to make sure that they have, the best experience possible, so that, if something does go awry, you don't end up being shown in a negative light on, whether it be local or national television or YouTube or anything like that. So just be very careful. You might even want to have a lawyer look it over. Luckily, this one was, again, very straightforward. I'm used to reading contracts like this, so I didn't see any red flags other than that one. And because of that, I definitely was here. The reason we started the party at 2 instead of our normal 1:30 is because I wanted to make sure, all the bathroom supplies were stocked. The play area was, completely spick and span. Everything was, absolutely perfect. And that was one of the reasons, was because I did go through that contract with a fine-tooth comb. And not saying that you should not do that for every single party, but again, with the turnaround time, I just wanted to give ourselves that extra peace of mind. And I'm glad I did, because they actually ended up showing up like an hour early. So I'm glad that I definitely gave us that little extra padding. But again, I would go back and ask more questions about that. And again, also make sure that you're having them sign your agreement, and ask a lawyer or someone like that if you need to add any additional clauses for this type of film production. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but definitely make sure that you have them sign your contract just as a normal party parent would, and make sure there are definitely clauses for damage, clauses for extra time, clauses for things that happen during production. So for example, one of the sound guys was holding like one of those big, tall, like microphone things, and he broke one of our light fixtures, because our light fixtures hang down from the ceiling. So when he was moving it around, he knocked it over and it broke. So, that's something that would never happen during a normal party usually, because nobody's holding up these giant sticks, these very heavy sticks. But just make sure that you are protecting yourself. And again, if you feel the need to, contact a lawyer to make sure that you are completely covered, and make sure you're covered for that extra time. Anything that happens, regardless of if it's a party guest or a member of production, anything like that. The third tip that I have is to make sure that you have the contact information, cell phone, everything of who is going to be in charge that day. So the person that booked this particular event was a member of the production crew, and they booked only about a week in advance, so I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare. And I just kind of assumed, maybe a little bit naively, that she would be here on the day, because she was very clearly the one organizing it. She was the go-to person. She placed the food order. She let us know what she wanted the theme to be, all that stuff. But she was not here, and I did not have the contact information of anybody who was going to be here on the day. So I would definitely ask the point person that you're working with, are you going to be here that day? If not, who is going to be, and can I have their contact information? And also, please give them my contact information, because like I said, the film crew started showing up. They literally just walked in the middle of another birthday party with all of this equipment, and we didn't intercept them immediately. But of course, as soon as we saw them walking in, we, quick said, oh, you have to, wait, we're in the middle of another party and we have to clean. So if I would have had the contact information of who was actually going to be on site, we probably could have prevented that issue. And again, they just kind of got in their cars and left. I wish I could have called them or had somebody to text to say, oh, you can come back at this time. And also, this is why, because I felt really bad that I just kind of shooed them out. But again, we were in the middle of another birthday party, so I really couldn't have them just setting stuff up, because every single party, whether or not it's going to be filmed, is so crucially important to us. So again, I would have made sure, I wouldn't have assumed that the person I was working with was going to be present, and I would definitely make sure that we exchange contact information with as many people as possible, and that I made sure that I was available to answer their calls and texts and things like that as well. The next thing that I would recommend is let your customers know that something different is going on, because I kind of maybe, again, naively assumed that everything would be kind of contained in our facility and our customers would be none the wiser or anything like that. But again, the drama that I mentioned, everything kind of spilled over to the parking lot, and they were actually filming in the parking lot for hours. And it was very obvious. You know, we're on a main road. You guys know that this location is very, very street visible. So we're on a main road. There was, 5 cameras and lighting equipment and sound equipment and a lot of people out there. And people were driving by and people were messaging me. People were saying, what's going on? Something looks like something crazy is happening in your parking lot. What the heck? And I wish I would have kind of gotten in front of it a little more. And even though I'm restricted in the details I can give in regards to the actual show and things like that, I wish I would have just let them know, like, hey, this is what's happening. We're filming for a show, so don't be alarmed if you drive by and there's a lot of, shenanigans happening either in the parking lot or whatever. Because there was also security posted outside. So they had, at every single entrance in the entire plaza, they had security guards and things like that to make sure that nobody was entering the premises without permission, because again, we all had to sign appearance releases. So I maybe would have just gave my customers a heads up that something was happening and not to be alarmed if they drove by and saw something out of the ordinary, because they were a little bit concerned. And honestly, I would have been as well. But again, I assumed that because we were just filming the birthday party, I thought that everything would be contained and that they would just be none the wiser. However, that was definitely not the case. The next thing that I would advise is to not only tell your customers that something out of the ordinary is happening, but also tell any neighboring businesses. So as you guys know, we share a wall with a restaurant, and you can drive behind our facility to get to the restaurant. So we have an entrance on either side of the plaza. You can enter or exit from either side. And a lot of people, if they're coming from this direction, they will enter our side and then drive behind the restaurant. And a lot of times as well, the restaurant workers will take breaks behind our building and things like that. There's dumpsters. There's things that they need to utilize on our side of the facility. And also there's, other businesses around as well. And another thing that I didn't expect to happen was not only were they filming in the parking lot, so they had our entrance blocked off, so the restaurant customers could not pull in, but they also had the back alley blocked off and they had security posted there. So not only could the restaurant workers not take their breaks as normal, but they couldn't access the dumpster for like a period of 5 hours, which on a Sunday for a restaurant is a big deal. So I wish I would have just been more open with them and let them know exactly what was going on and the times, how they would be affected. But again, I didn't realize, and again, that goes back to me needing to ask more questions at the beginning of this entire venture. So definitely communicate with your neighbors and give them the information of the point people as well, because the restaurant was definitely affected by this whole production, especially because it ended up being 6.5 hours, and Sunday is one of their busiest days. So I should have been more open with them so that they could better prepare, because they got a little bit upset, again, that they weren't told that they wouldn't be able to access the trash receptacles. And as the owner, I did what I could, to mitigate the situation and help communicate between the two parties and kind of rush them along and let them know, like, hey, they didn't agree to this, you need to let them access the dumpster. So it was a whole thing, but it all could have been prevented if we just would have gotten ahead of it a little bit more and let them know what was going to be happening in advance. The next thing that I would definitely recommend is, I already mentioned asking them about their procedures if something happens or anything like that, but ask them what type of security they provide. Luckily, this particular show provided a lot of security, and they were very, very nice. They, kind of stayed in the background. I felt safe. I never felt unsafe at any point. However, I don't know if that's going to be the case for every single show or production. And I don't feel like it's fair to have us hire security for whatever reason, whether it be to make sure nobody comes in without an appearance release, or to make sure if any drama happens that there's no, nothing escalates out of control. Because even if you call the police, you know, it's gonna take them a few minutes to get there, and you have property to worry about, you have employees' safety to worry about, you might have other customers' safety to worry about if you're filming during open play. So definitely ask what kind of security they provide and how they intervene, because again, because it is a reality show, and because, you know, drama sells, and, you know, this sort of stuff is what they want. They want, you know, things to happen and things to escalate. I would ask them, you know, at what point do you step in, and do you have security step in? You know, and make sure you have all of your contracts in place for damages and things like that. But just be prepared, because again, there were a couple times where I definitely got a little bit nervous. Again, I felt safe the entire time, but I don't know if that is standard practice for all TV shows, but that's definitely something that I would have, I should have asked ahead of time, and if I ever get the opportunity to do this again, I certainly will. And then my last tip, if you ever get the opportunity to do any sort of filming like this, is ask what kind of space they need. So something that I didn't realize is that when you have all of those big cameras and sound equipment, is they need, and also all of the guests had on microphones, and all of that stuff requires battery, and it requires equipment, and it requires carrying cases. And those batteries need to be swapped out like immediately, and it was raining yesterday. So they needed indoor space to store all of this equipment and batteries and things like that. So we ended up clearing out our entire office. I mean, luckily it's very organized to begin with, but they needed this extra space, and I didn't ask in advance, and they didn't communicate in advance. So originally they just had everything like kind of shoved in the corner, but it didn't look good. It was restricting the space for the guests' shoes and coats and things like that. And this was like a real birthday party, so we wanted to make sure that the guests had a great experience. So we ended up finding room in the office, but they moved everything around. Now it's an absolute mess in there. If they would have just let me know ahead of time, like, hey, we need 100 square feet of space where we can store this equipment so it's out of sight, out of mind, but still indoors, I would have been able to make those preparations ahead of time. But again, I didn't realize, and they didn't tell me. So that's something that I would definitely ask, is not only ask what kind of time they need before and after, but also ask about what kind of space they need. So again, everything is still so fresh in my mind. So if you send me a DM on Instagram, this is probably gonna go live just about a week after I film it. I would love to chat with you guys. My Instagram handle is Play Cafe Academy. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I put out a new video every single week, and I have some really fun stuff coming for you guys. I am so excited about it. So I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.